show up here for Klingon weapons and props and stuff? Yay, good. I'm just going to introduce, my name is Krikor, it's my real name, also my Klingon name. I'm the commander of the Crimson Knight Fleet, which is the Ontario branch of the Klingon Assault Group. We're an international Klingon costuming fan club. And so, my thing is mostly costumes. So I brought in Kulex here, also known as Alex, who is, as you can see, a member of the 501st, but he's also he's also sometimes a Klingon.
Klingon, Ghostbuster,
yeah,
Revolution, RT Builder.
Yeah. One of those R2D2s out there is his. Anyway, so he's more of the props master, so he's going to be doing a lot of talking about prop making in general, various techniques, and how to approach different types of props projects. He's got this little props PowerPoint presentation loading up here. And I sort of brought some of the stuff that I have that either, there are a lot of Klingon props that you can just buy, like, things like Disruptor Pistol and so on are available commercially. There are things that are, fairly easy to make. There are other things that are a little more involved and you want to do it more accurately, so we'll get into that as we go along. Actually, before we start, are any of you interested in actually doing a Klingon cosplay, but you haven't yet? Just curious. No? Okay. But you're all interested in making Klingon props, right? Okay. So at least there's that. Because we're doing a Klingon costuming panel tomorrow and a Klingon prosthetics and makeup panel on Sunday. So if you're more interested in the Klingon thing in general, we got more stuff coming. Why don't we start the thing and I'll sort of jump in with some of my stuff when it's appropriate.
You want to, as we go through it, you want to start talking what you know about it?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. You start your presentation, I'll jump in when I can.
Well, you can start like this. I'm going to do sort of more advanced prop making techniques sort of thing. There's a lot of variety, so it's not going to cover all of them. There's so many different ones that you can do. There is no one right way of making a prop. There are several different ways you can approach it, depending on your skill level, what access you have to tools and stuff like that. First one, mold making. You want to talk about that before?
Well, I've got a couple of examples of stuff that you can, that have been made with molds. That is actually a badge that's from the original series Klingon sashes. It hasn't been painted, obviously, but this was actually done. I think this one was done as a 3D print, which I'm sure we're going to get to at some point. But 3D print, with the advent of 3D printing, it's really easy to make your prototype that way. And then if you want to make a whole bunch of them, you do a silicone mold from this, and then you can stamp out dozens or whatever, right? And that's where this process comes in that Alex has.
Here's some examples of molding. There's one part and two part. This is a one part mold. It's actually a, you recognize it, it's a hose for a Ghostbuster costume. So that I can pass this along. This is a latex mold. This one here is actually a detail set for a Battlestar Galactica model. So actually, this one that way. The different materials, RTD rubber, room temperature vulcanizing. It's a mixture of percentage, I think 10 parts of the rubber, and then it's got little thing you mix by weight ratio. So right there is also other types that it's like putty. You mix 1-to-1 ratio together, and then you squish it into your part that you want to make a mold of. I don't like this stuff. Not right. For detail, I just find this stuff better. It's a bit more expensive.
And if you're here in town, the place to get all this stuff is
Sculpture
Supply Canada.
Plastic World has it also. Hobby stores will have them, but they're a bit more expensive, sort of thing.
Yeah, they may not have as much selection as that sort of thing, but they are available.
Yeah, as you get more into it, you really talk about stuff like release agents and vacuum cables and stuff like that. But to start off with something like this is not a bad get. You try and do little stuff first because you will screw up and it's expensive.
Generally, you're talking about doing insignia badges, this sort of thing, little stuff like this, before you try and
do a full body castings.
Because anything, once you get a little bit bigger, if it's a prop that's going to be handled, you have to be concerned about what kind of plastic you're using so that it's not too brittle or whatever, right? Yeah. Yeah, because you want something that's like not too soft so that it holds its shape, but not too brittle so that it cracks if it's underused. Like I've seen some of these things, like if it's on a sash that's flexible, it'll snap if you try and fold it into your suitcase or something.
And for casting, ISO's casting, there is different methods. The two-part mix, same thing you can get at Sculpture Supply Canada, Plastic World, or Hobby stores. You get different types of different hardnesses. Some will be rubber type, some will be like rock solid. This is a mixture 1-to-1, and there are others, same thing with like the RTV where you mix the ratio. But same thing, you talk about small, and you realize about bubbles and casting and make mistakes and stuff like that before you do something full size. Anything else on?
Move along. Yeah, I've done a little bit of casting myself, but Alex knows a lot more about it than I do.
Back forming is another form of making multiple copies of item. Casting is one way. Casting, you get a lot of detail. Back forming is another method. It's also cheaper, but the detail is not as good. So this is my little back form table I made. This is the little table. I bought a toaster oven in the back of Valley Village, and I made it so it fits in the toaster oven sort of thing, and I would not eat out of that afterwards sort of thing. Some people use their oven at home. Same thing. I
would suggest, because any sort of plastic releases like toxic gases when you heat it up. But do people know like the general principle of vacuum forming? Basically, you take a sheet of plastic and heat it up until it's soft, and then you mash it over the thing you want to take a copy of, and with a vacuum suck out the air underneath so that it sucks down while it's still soft.
So here I use a shop vac.
Yeah. So it's got little holes in the bottom of the platform there. So it sucks all the air out from underneath the item.
Yeah, so this goes in a toast oven until it gets until the plastic on there sort of sags and you pop it on there.
So yeah, I mean, if you're going to be doing a lot of pieces, you can make one of these yourself. And
this, if you recognize it, it's from a 2/3 scale Stargate. So that would be on there, and then you bring that down.
So the vacuum form is good for if you're doing like stamping out a whole lot of something, and it also will make pieces that are lighter than a mold because they'll be hollow, because they'll be they form over the shape. There you go. They form over the shape of the thing that you're copying. So
that's form action. I forgot to show this. I'm also a firefighter fan.
Fire fan.
Plan's okay. So this was a master I made. I was going to make a base for my model Serenity, and this is the casting. Okay? So actually, I don't have the mold of this, but this was part of the master, and then this is one copy I made.
Yeah. So if you had a bigger vacuum form table, you could stamp those.
But you can see from the copy, how sharp the detail is, whereas with the back form, you get rounded corners.
Right, because it forms over top of the thing. Theoretically, you can vacuum form into something, but then you'd have to have little holes inside the mold to suck the air out, and then you have to deal with where the holes are. Anyway, it's a complicated process. Vacuum forming is actually really good for like stormtrooper armor, that sort of thing. If you go to their armor panel, you can hear all about it from them.
Yeah. Fiberglass. Fiberglass is another way of, like, this is a Papakura helmet. That's one way of making some nice props, and people fiberglass over top of it. Fiberglass is really smelly, stinky. Don't do it in your house, or else it'll smell for like 3 days. So do it outside. Yeah, just another technique of doing things. Some people do Bondo, but then it gets very heavy sort of thing. Fiberglass will give you quite a bit of strength.
I'm not going to talk about fiberglass particularly, but it reminds me of a project that I'm planning to do that I haven't started yet. I want to do one of the helmets from Star Trek Into Darkness, which was the second of the 3 recent Star Trek movies, the worst of them. But at least they had Klingons in it. So anyway, they had Klingons with helmets, so I wanted to do one of the helmets. And the way I'm going to approach it is I'm going to sculpt the helmet in clay and do a silicone negative mold. And there is a plastic, basically a plastic stuff that you can get that you mix it up and it's in liquid form and you slush it around inside the mold, and then it hardens into a hard shell. And then you pull the mold off and you just clean up the edges and stuff. So that's how I'm going to make the Klingon helmet. And that way, once I've got the mold, like fiberglass, basically you use it when you make one of something. right? Because you only get the one. Anything that involves a mold, you can make multiple copies.
Yeah, once you make the master, you can get multiple. Like I said, you'll see I can cast a lot of multiples on that sort of thing.
Yeah. So that's part of your consideration for how to approach something is, do you want to make a bunch of them or not? Because if you're only going to make the one, then making a negative mold and then making the thing may be more work than you have to do. If you only want the one, then something like fiberglass or something else, just some sort of sculpting, building up technique, might be all you need to do.
Styrofoam. Oh, I love styrofoam. Make a lot of stuff out of styrofoam. It's cheap. Once you
But a little fragile.
Sometimes too fragile. This is part of the Ghostbusters pack. I was making out of styrofoam. It was a cheap way of doing it, and once you paint it, sometimes you can't tell. You can cut it with a knife, cut it with a sanded, or hot wire it. I don't prefer hot wiring because it produces noxious fumes. Something like that you can get like sculpture supply.
So many of these techniques, you should have well ventilated areas.
So yeah. So and this is I made myself for like larger items. So
basically, the idea there is you plug it in, and the electricity runs through the wire and heats it up, just like your stove element is exactly how it works.
So yeah, this is styrofoam.
Yeah, and so the hot wire just slices right through anything, you know, like it'll melt through the foam.
Yeah, so I did the indents here, I did that cut out, and I did like the edge sort of. Here, like I think I carved most of my hand, some with the hot wire, and then I use a palm sander with sandpaper to do the rest of it. That's just a PVC pipe. So
And again, if you're sanding foam, you really want to wear a breath mask. You don't want to breathe that stuff.
do that side.
Yeah.
Do you have to seal the foam before you paint it?
Depends, like those aren't sealed. Some, there are different materials to seal it sort of thing. Some work good, some don't work well sort of
It
thing.
partially depends on the texture you're looking for.
Yeah.
If you want it to look like stone or something like that, then the foam texture is actually
Yeah,
pretty good.
you'll see that when it comes to it. The surface finish on that's actually pretty good sort of thing. That's what the palm sander was like, I think 600 grit for 400 grit sander. So, but some people want to do it to make it strength, add strength to it, so when it bumps around it won't chip or stuff like that.
Yeah, as you said, foam is pretty fragile, so it'll.
Well, it depends. Like the big handle thing's not too bad.
Well,
The knife thing, because it's extending so far, when it caught at something, there's no grip sort of thing.
Yeah.
But you'll see it's part of the Ghostbuster pack sort of thing, actually, because it's a big solid chunk. It's actually, fairly rigid or strong. So. Airbrushing. I got into airbrushing as a model builder sort of thing, so I have like multiple airbrushes, compressor. You can use it for detailing. Some people use it for like body painting. You can like decorate case and stuff. The wood grain on that handle there is airbrushed. So it gives you a nice soft edge on that. So, and like I said, unfortunately, to get into it, the compressor might cost a couple hundred. Airbrushes can go from $25 to like $1,000, depending on how much you want to spend on it. Most of them rent it out, mostly. eBay.
There are probably places that would rent compressors.
Compressors you sometimes get on sale at Canadian Tire.
Yeah.
So you get a little compressor with it. You want a regulator on it, so you can play around with it. So, sorry.
Finish with that.
Okay. Unfortunately, with airbrushes, it's all personal. So what might work with one person they love, another person might say this is the worst airbrush I've ever had. So, and like I said, unfortunately, there's no place where you can test them out. So, maybe at some like a hobby show or something like here. Hope you have a vendor that would let you play around with it or something. Hopefully, you have like a friend who might say, okay, try it out, and you'll see what you think.
Yeah, what kind of power source are you using?
I use a 12-volt gel cell battery on that. If you get a big enough plug-in one, you might be able to get it working, but then it draws so much current. That can glow red hot.
Right.
That thing, right? So,
Yeah, you don't want to do 120 volts. You want
so I haven't tried 120 volts. I don't know what would happen to it. If I go red hot, same thing. So you have to be very quick, or I'll just like melt your side.
You're